looking like we have a deal on Gaza. And we'll let you know.
Mr. President.
I think it's a deal that will get the hostages back. It's going to be a deal that will end the war. It's going to be a deal it's going to be peace.
Welcome back. That's President Trump on a potential agreement between Israel and Hamas to end the battle in Gaza. Tomorrow, the president will meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House to talk about his 21-point plan for ending the war and how Gaza will be overseen and rebuilt. This is the UK, Canada, and France have all announced that they are officially recognizing a Palestinian state, joining more than 150 other nations, despite no details or path on what territory they will hold or which government will oversee it. Speaking at the United Nations on Friday, Netanyahu told the General Assembly Hamas should not be rewarded for their terrorist attack that killed 1,200 people in Israel.
What you're doing is giving the ultimate reward to intolerant fanatics who perpetrated and supported the October 7th massacre. Giving the Palestinians a state 1 mile from Jerusalem after October 7th is like giving Al-Qaeda a state 1 mile from New York City after September 11th. This is sheer madness. It's insane, and we won't do it.
Joining me now in the Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is Senator John Fetterman. Senator, it's great to have you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Do you think there's a deal here? What is your reaction to all that has played out?
I mean, I've read 21 points. And now overall, I've been very pleased the way the president has backed Israel. I mean, as I do. I think I was the only Democrat that supported the Iranian nuclear facilities. And that's why I'm always willing to stand with the democratically elected leader of Israel. And I do think it's astonishing. You know, you have our allies are going to recognize Palestine when you have human beings held underground, tortured and starved, going on 2 years. And that is, and absolutely it's a reward for Hamas. That's going to be their narrative. They're going to claim that's why we did 10-7, that birthed our nation, and you can't ever give that to them. And I strongly reject any idea, especially now to talk about that when you have human beings. I mean, they are normalizing keeping human beings underground for 2 years and forcing them to dug their own graves. And now it's like, hey, let's give them a nation.
Yeah, and that's why really I wanted to talk to you about this, because you've been so practical on this issue. And you've been talking about the things that our audience cares about so much. So in terms of this deal, UN delegates walked out of the Netanyahu address on Friday in New York at the UN General Assembly. Why is there so much upset against Netanyahu?
Yeah, I watched that. And if you're leaving with Iran at the same time, you know, really look at yourself. And it's like, what kinds of values do you have? If you're going to walk out, you know, on a speech of the leader of, you know, and you are standing with Iran, one of the world's largest terrorism underwriter, what they've done, you know, they financed what Hamas and Hezbollah and those things. And now look who you're walking out with. And now that's why I strongly reject that in the strongest terms. And I absolutely support the things what Israel has done. And I actually, you know, even referencing the beepers, you know, Hezbollah did get the message, just like the prime minister said. That's entirely appropriate. And now, why aren't we reminding Hamas could end this war? They could have ended this at any point to send all of the hostages home and disarm. I mean, that's how the way the wars work. Right. It's like if you start a war and you're forced to submit or just engage this war. And that's what Israel's forced to do that, and why I support what they continue to do in Gaza City.
So you do support that 21-point plan then?
I mean, I do want this war to end. Yeah. And I do hope that, you know, but I mean, we'll see how that actually works out. But for me, like, I do not think it's entirely appropriate to recognize a two-state solution. You know, for me, my non-starter is send all those hostages home. And now first we're going to agree, we're going to disarm. How can you pretend that you're going to have any real peace in the region if Hamas is about to occupy? It's just absurd at this point. I know that's put me kinds of as an outlier within the Democratic Party, but what history demonstrates is if you're willing to turn your back on the Jewish community, and now with Israel, I refuse to do that. And I do hope it does end. And I have watched and I have looked over the 21-point plan, and I agree with many of it. But for me, I'm going to stand with Israel through that. Ultimately, what's the right thing for Israel?
The point is you don't want to reward Hamas after what Hamas did, and I think that's what you're saying here in terms of a Palestinian state. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Hamas's point. They're going to claim, well, this is why that's all of this was over trying to create a new state. That's the narrative, and we can't give that to them because they have to be pushed into submission and disarm. And now, why has the media normalized, keeping hostages for 2 years and torturing people that way?
Unbelievable. How horrible. Let me move on to the potential shutdown. You just heard what Speaker Mike Johnson said. There is an emergency meeting tomorrow at the White House. The GOP got their $150 billion in Department of War or Defense money and ICE deportation funding in the big, beautiful bill. But the Democrats want this Affordable Care Act money. Where are you on this issue, and do you expect a government shutdown Tuesday night?
Where I'm at, where I've always been, and I will always remain on, is it is always, always wrong to shut our government down. That is a core responsibility. I'm always going to vote against those things. And if it's the Republican side or now it's our side, I'm going to condemn it as well, too, especially with the kinds of chaos that we are facing after Kirk. And now there's a Cat 5 storm that might hit our nation, too. Now, and you're willing to threaten us down. I was the only Democrat voting against that. And now that CR was the same CR from the Biden administration as well, too.
Right.
For me, I'm a big believer of if you want to change the policies, win elections. And that's really the way democracy works. And I didn't vote for the big, beautiful bill. And I do think health care, could be a solution. But I don't think shutting our government down is the wrong thing. And that's why I think it's the wrong time, certainly at this point.
Senator, it really gets me that we just had a murder of a good man, Charlie Kirk. And I thought that, when I was at the memorial last Sunday, I felt there was such kindness and hope and love in the air. I thought, well, this has to be a turning point, a pivot for both sides to come together. But you just heard Mike Johnson say that, Chuck Schumer really just wants to fight Trump. Anything that Trump says, he wants to be on the other side. So if it means shutting the government down, fine, so be it. Whatever it is that where we are? How do you see things post Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, my message after the Kirk assassination is, give people the opportunity to grieve and give them the appropriate space. I'm not going to take that time to make an argument or to advance, my own argument and all of those things. And two, now I think his widow, what she said, that she's even now going to forgive. I mean, I thought that's one of the beautiful things that emerged from that thing. But for me, where right now, I have a hard rule. Don't shut our government down. It's wrong. I don't care what party it is for whatever reason. That's a core responsibility. And now if you have a Cat 5 storm that's now facing our nation, why would you even have that conversation right now? And that's why I sure things work out and we don't shut our government down. But I've been consistent.
You sure have. Senator, let me ask you, look, we know that there's been real extremists who have tried to hijack the Democrat Party, and whether it's policy or the way they talk. And look, you've seen it on the right in some cases as well, all the way. But on the left, you've got such extremes. Would you consider switching parties?
No, I'm not going to switch, but I'm just going to be an independent voice in the Democratic Party. I'm not going to be afraid if people, and if there are groups attacking a Democrat, the last one in Pennsylvania, then to me, that's part of the problem, in our party. And if you want a Democrat that's going to call people Nazis or fascists or all these kinds of things, well, I'm not going to be that guy. Independent thinking and views wherever I happen to believe the truth. regardless if it's the Republican or the Democratic voice. What I think is the truth in this. Now, in this truth right now, it's firmly on Israel through this. And it's always wrong to shut our government down. And that's where my voice is. And if that puts me as an outlier, and that's where I am.
What do you think happens to Netanyahu if he doesn't submit to Trump and his plan?
Well, I really don't know. And like I said, it's like I really have been very grateful the way the president has continued to back Israel throughout all of this thing. So regardless, now I follow Israel through this. And I would like to remind everybody, if they were pushed into a ceasefire a year ago, and the beepers and Sinwar and eliminating all of Hezbollah and Iran now too, think of where they could be, what they've accomplished. And now it's end game. And this war does have to end. And that's why Netanyahu's been forced to do this and go into Gaza City. So that's why I'm going to follow Israel, just as I've done for now and going on 2 years.
Senator, you are a breath of fresh air, and we appreciate your independence so much. I hope you'll come back soon on this program, sir. Thank you.
We've got a Fox News alert. Minutes ago, President Trump has just arrived back at the White House and spoke to reporters. Here's what he had to say.
Are you going to set a deadline for Hamas to release the hostages?
Yeah, we're going to very quickly. We had some very good meetings. The countries of the world, a lot of the countries surrounding Israel, frankly, Muslim, Arab, and many others have had great meetings with Hamas, and it looks like it's working. So we'll wait for a little while, see how it all turns out.
When will the administration begin firing
They're going to work very quickly. I think it's going to go very quickly. The meetings seem to be very good. We'll find out. We'll let you know soon.
When will the administration begin?
The rebels in DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, they continue to kill
In Congo?
Yeah, they continue to
Well, we're looking into that. We've heard
What
that.
about the ceasefire?
We're going to look at that, yeah.
Mr. President, you said there was an attack yesterday night in the Caribbean. Could you give more details about that?
My people will give you those details.
Mr. President, when will the administration begin firing federal employees during this government shutdown?
That's taking place right now, and it's all because of the Democrats. The Democrats are causing the loss of a lot of jobs with their, it's a shutdown. It's their shutdown, not our shutdown. It's their shutdown.
What agencies does
And I hope everybody likes what's the Presidential Walk of Fame. You know that? Have you seen it's beautiful, isn't it? Presidential Walk of Fame. Thank you very much. Again, congratulations to the Navy. They did a great job today. Thank you very much.
What agencies